Hello, everyone. I have another devotional for you this week, and once again, it's Wednesday. Right now, it's 11:20 at the time of this recording. I know I probably won't be up till a little bit after 12, but either way, Wednesday in the morning again for devotionals. I'm on a roll, 2 weeks in a row. So, interestingly enough, the verses that we're going to be covering today are going to be talking about discipline. And so, just to go ahead and jump right into it, we're in Proverbs chapter 5, verses 7 through 14. If you'd like to open your Bibles and read along with me, that'd be great. Or you can just feel free to listen. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Do not turn aside from what I say. Keep to a path far from her. Do not go near the door of her house, lest you lose your honor to others, and your dignity to one who is cruel. Lest strangers feast on your wealth, and your toil enrich the house of another. At the end of your life you will groan. And when your flesh and body are spent, you will say, how I hated discipline, and how my heart spurred correction. I would not obey my teachers or turn my ear to my instructors, and I was soon in serious trouble in the assembly of God's people. So if you remember from last week, here in chapter 5, it's a warning against adultery. And so last week, as we were reading these verses, we were given the example of a woman who represents adultery, an adulterous woman, as she's described, but it's is meant to be a stereotype, an analogy. And this woman, her paths were crooked. She did not know where she went, and at the end of her path was death. And of course, the writer Solomon is warning us against having that kind of lifestyle where we don't know what we're doing, we don't know where we're going, but we end up in death. And so he's continuing that. He says, "Do not turn aside from what I say. Do not turn aside from the path of wisdom." And he says, "Don't live your life in such a way that is so free-spirited that at the end of all things, at the end of your days, you're like, man, I hated wisdom and correction and discipline so much, and I regret that." He doesn't want that for his sons, and God doesn't want that for us. I don't want that for you, for me, for anybody. But on that note, for those of you that don't know, I have ADHD, and it makes it hard for me to focus on certain things. It makes it hard for me to do things at certain times of the day. I hate calendaring, but this is my little calendar that I carry around with me, and it helps me a lot because I'm kind of holding myself accountable there that, hey, I said I was going to do this today. And that's just an example of something that I try and do to keep myself disciplined, so that way I'm continuing to be doing right by you guys and right by God with the work that I do in ministry. And so in this passage, when he says, if you turn aside from what I say, you're going to find yourself in serious trouble in the assembly of God's people. Although there's a lot of debate as to exactly what it'll look like or how it'll happen or when it'll happen, we know that at the end of days, we will stand before God. We will stand before his people, and we will have to give an account for who we were in life. We can say, I was a fool. I despised wisdom. I despised discipline. I didn't want any correction. It can be full stop. Or we can say, I made mistakes, but my heart belongs to Jesus. And this passage doesn't specifically talk about that because, of course, Jesus wasn't known by name at this point in the Old Testament, or at really any point in the Old Testament. But the point being, we can despise discipline, we can avoid correction, we can continue to live a lifestyle that displeases God. But know that if we don't turn from our path, if we don't get onto the straight and narrow path of wisdom, we will find ourselves in serious trouble, because God is a God of judgment and of fairness. He's not going to be like, well, I'm going to let that slide under the table. He has standards, and his standards are perfection. The only way for us to achieve perfection is to ask for the grace and forgiveness that his son Jesus offers. So I hope that each of you does that. I hope that each of you watching this have accepted Jesus into your life. Because just in these last 5.5 chapters of Proverbs, we see how following God, following the path of wisdom, the benefits of it, how it's not just it's not just a get out of jail free card. It's something that impacts our whole life, from day one till day end. So I hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you on Sunday. Go in peace.